What are familiar spirits? Essentially, without saying a lot, they are spirits that are familiar with you. And beyond being familiar with you, they are familiar with your father, with your father's father, with your great. They've been in your family for generations. Are you here? And listen to this. Those who say familiar spirits is not, it's not in the New Testament. Let me show you the work of familiar spirits here. How they work. Matthew 12:44. It says, then he says, the he that is here, that is saying here is not a human being, it's a spirit. Saying, I will return to my house from which I what? Came. What house is he talking about? Your family. And he's calling it, he didn't say, I will return to the house. What did he say? It claims that this, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Yeah? A man was, came from his grandparents, came to the United Kingdom, was sent the father to the United Kingdom to school. He came here, graduated, and then the son too was born here, grew up here. And then they were asking him, what's your name? He said, my name is John Day. He said, what? John Day. The person who was asking, he said, spell it. He said, John Day. So then they asked him, can you tell me your full name? I said, well, they call me, my father also named me Abayomi. So his name is John Abayomi. He said, John Abayomi. So then when they traced it, his name was really Ifade. That somewhere along the line, Ifa is a deity, it's a spirit, it's a God that is worshipped. Dei means Ifa locked this one up. So somewhere along between the grandfather, they just thought that if a day doesn't really work, you know what I mean? So somebody, maybe when he was in Oxford, they just we call you John Day, and he said John Day. But how many of you know whether you remove the first part or whatever, Ifa is still familiar with you? Is this making sense? And he's saying, I will return to my house from which I came and went. And then listen, the point is, when study the ministry of Jesus and how he operates with demons, you will see that. Anyway, I don't have the time to talk about these things. I'm just burdened. And it is not that, everything is demon. No. It's just an issue of emphasis. If a person is a neurosurgeon, he will be talking about the brain a lot. Does that make sense? But he can treat anything. Now, the point I'm trying to say here is this. Familiar spirits are really stubborn. When Jesus cast out the spirit from the gathering demoniac, who remembers that? When he cast out that spirit, what did the spirit say? They say, sir, we will go. But can you please give us permission not to leave this place? And Jesus, I would have thought he would argue with the demons and say, who are you, my friend? Jesus said, he said, stay, because he knows the nature. You know why? They were familiar with the people, and the people were also familiar with them. They liked the spirit liked them. And Jesus knew that even if he didn't let them go, they will come back soon. Is this making sense? I will explain what I mean to you, because you see, when the spirit goes out, the spirit will go out when it is cast, but the spirit will watch your behavior again. If you are behaving like somebody that likes that spirit, and I will show you in a short while how those people behave. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down. That's what they are in church on Sunday, but the next Friday, they are shaking what your mama got you. Who knows what I'm talking about? They are dressing like Sodom and Gomorrah. So the spirit said, isn't that the one that the pastor cast out with us for? Say, hey, she's back around here. Oh. So they would say, let us what? Go back to our house. And then they say 7 times more, let's go. Are you here? So very quickly, I want to talk to you about the cause, how the mosquito bites. The first is inheritance. I'm going to tell you quickly four causes or 4 ways. The first is, when I say inheritance, this means I know all of you have Jesus in your heart, but you still have daddy in your bones, which essentially means Jesus is in your heart, but you have to follow Jesus in such a way that he enters your bones. But until then, daddy will still manifest if you're a guy. Mommy will still manifest, even though you didn't like what daddy did. So you will find that many people listen to this, hey, daddy was violent, assaulted, abused mom, and you said, you'll never do it. Then when you became a Christian, you say, and you know the scriptures. Jesus is in your heart, but by almost like remote control, your wife does something and your hand just goes like, bah, 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 and then you're like, then you repent afterwards. Go back to school again, church again, and then next time, a trigger, bah, then you find out the Jesus in your heart is not. Is this making sense? Then you find that to will, to do is there, but to do it is a different thing. This is why it says in Lamentations 5:7, our fathers sinned and are no more, but we bear their iniquities. Wow. Now, the word iniquity now, I was going to say prof, because he studies and things like prof. Apostle is prof too. He will, now, it's been a long time since I've actually studied these words, but the word iniquity is different from the word sin. If I remember well, the word sin is something like hamata or something like that. I mean, we can correct that later, but the point is this. The word sin is about the word error. To miss the mark. Right, so this is the point. So it's like shooting an arrow, and I want you to hit that target, or to hit the cup there, and see, it missed the mark. You could miss it by 2 inches. The word iniquity is not about the missing the mark. It is about the crookedness of the arrow. That it doesn't matter how you shoot the arrow, it will miss the mark, because the arrow is crooked. Iniquity is the crookedness. Our fathers sinned, and the crookedness that the sin left us, we carry it. And so what I'm trying to say is that, there are people who love Jesus, but your father or your father had, my grandfather, I'm told, had something like 40-something children or something crazy like that, and a number of wives. I never asked the full number. Now, my father, God bless his heart, I love him to bits. But you know what? I saw something in him. My dad never had more than one wife part-time. So it was what you call a serial monogamist. So you see, in different generations, do you understand? So in his own generation, I was educated, an architect, so that kind of thing, and an Anglican, you know what I mean? But so this familiar spirit will come in a different guise. In his father's, and then in your generation, if you don't correct the iniquity, the demon was operating analog in your father's age. It is digital in your own age. So what will your own be? Your own will be, you won't be a serial monogamist. You will just have 1 or 2 side chicks. It is the same crookedness manifesting error in different ways. Are you here? Time. Okay, let's do our best. I was in Houston a week ago. Very interesting one. We had a Friday night meeting. We had a Sunday meeting. On the Friday, somewhere during the ministration, I had Freda. Somebody just ran from the back, and then a bunch of girls were just shouting, and I was like, what's happening? They've been praying for that girl. Who's Frida? Frida is her mom. Anyway, so the Lord began to, bang, hit certain things. by Sunday, that's what usually happens with breakthrough night. By Sunday, they bring more people. They bring the people who are, And so, before I even started the message, I wrote a date down, 22nd of June. And then I said, 22nd of June, who came forward? That same girl. I said, what does it? He said, my birthday. I said, oh, Frida. Then Frida came forward. Frida is the mom. As she comes forward, I see a prison. And she starts to cry. And she breaks down. I said, who is in prison? What's prison? He said, that's my husband. And she started crying. I said, but he didn't do it. He didn't do it. The whole family, so the son too came. They were all there crying in front. You were there. And, I was like, I want to preach my message, but they were, and I was like, they said he was accused wrongly and, he died in the guilt. And this, that, and she had been feeling suicidal because of this. And then what was worse, she said, the son who was here too, he said it's been carrying the burden. Even though I was ministering and we're hitting in the middle of the service, he ran out. That is a clear example of our fathers have sinned and they have gone. And then we bear their iniquities. So later on, I said, hold on a minute. I said, I see witchcraft. Say, yeah. There were witches from the Caribbean, this, that, and both families, this and that. I said, the root is witchcraft. Now, these trips that we do, I don't know about you. I don't know how you do it. But my own body is not as young as yours. I'm praying for more energy. But it takes its toll. And each time I do this, when I'm on the plane, I say, why am I suffering like this for these people? I've tried. I've done this thing for a long time. There's a time I should just spend with my own family. But when I go and see those kind of things, I see that there is a need for a deliverer. And there's a need to raise up deliverers. They are for prey, and no one shall restore. They are captives and no one delivers.